If you've ever had a headache after coffee, or a headache because you didn't have coffee, you're not imagining things. The confusing part is that caffeine can feel like it helps, and then later it feels like it causes the problem. What's really happening is your brain and blood vessels are reacting to a chemical you use often, then reacting again when it's gone. And those reactions can show up as pressure, throbbing, or that tight band feeling behind the eyes. In this video, you'll learn the main mechanisms that link caffeine and headaches, and how to tell which one is most likely in your case. We'll also talk about patterns like weekend headaches, energy drinks, and why timing matters more than you think. You don't need to memorize biology. You just need a simple mental model so you can predict your own triggers. Let's start with the key switch caffeine flips in your brain. Moving to slide 2. Adenosine is one of your brain's natural slowdown signals. As the day goes on, adenosine builds up and makes you feel sleepy and less alert. Caffeine works mainly by blocking adenosine receptors, so your brain can't hear that tiredness signal as strongly. That's why you feel more awake. But adenosine also influences blood flow in the brain. When caffeine blocks these receptors, it can lead to tighter, more constricted blood vessels for a while. For some people, that change reduces headache pain, which is why caffeine shows up in some headache products. The catch is that your body likes balance. If you block adenosine regularly, your system can adapt by making those receptors more sensitive or more numerous.
Then, when caffeine isn't there, adenosine hits harder than usual, and that can set the stage for a withdrawal headache.
Moving to slide 3. Now let's talk about the classic caffeine withdrawal headache. When caffeine wears off, adenosine can bind strongly again, and blood vessels can widen more than your brain is used to. That widening is one reason headaches can feel throbbing or pulsing. Withdrawal headaches often show up 12 to 24 hours after your last caffeine. But the exact timing depends on your dose, your metabolism, and how consistent your routine is. People often notice it on weekends, travel days, or after switching to decaf without realizing it. Along with head pain, you might also feel fatigue, brain fog, irritability, or even mild nausea. The key clue is predictability. If the headache reliably improves after caffeine, that's a strong sign withdrawal is involved. It doesn't mean caffeine is bad. It means your body has learned to expect it at a certain rhythm. Moving to slide 4. There's another pattern that feels similar, but is slightly different. Rebound. Rebound is when you use caffeine to push down a headache, but then as caffeine fades, the headache returns, sometimes stronger. This can happen if you're already prone to migraines or tension-type headaches, and you're using caffeine as a quick fix. Caffeine can temporarily change pain signaling and blood vessel tone, so the relief is real. But if the underlying trigger is still there, stress, poor sleep, dehydration, skipped meals, the headache can come right back. Then you drink more caffeine, and the cycle repeats. The important detail is frequency. If caffeine is your main tool several days a week for head pain, your baseline can become more sensitive. This is one reason headache specialists often ask not just how much caffeine, but how often and why. Moving to slide 5. Dose and timing are where a lot of people get surprised. A small, consistent amount of caffeine can feel fine, while a large or irregular dose can trigger headaches. Think of caffeine like a strong signal to your nervous system. If you go from 0 to a big energy drink, you can get jittery, tense your jaw and neck, and end up with a tension-style headache. If you stack caffeine late in the day, your sleep can get lighter even if you fall asleep, and poor sleep is a major headache amplifier. Also, caffeine peaks and then declines. That drop can happen right when you're in a meeting, driving, or working out, and you interpret it as a random headache. For many people, the fix isn't quitting. It's smoothing the curve, more consistent timing, and avoiding sudden spikes. Moving to slide 6. Hydration and electrolytes are another common piece of this puzzle. Caffeine has a mild diuretic effect, especially if you're not used to it. But for regular users, the effect is smaller than people assume. Still, if caffeine replaces water, you can end up slightly dehydrated. And even mild dehydration can make headaches more likely, especially with heat, exercise, or long flights. There's also the coffee and no breakfast pattern. Caffeine can blunt appetite, and if you go too long without food, blood sugar dips can feel like a headache, shakiness, or irritability. Add caffeine on top, and the symptoms can stack. A useful way to test this is simple. Notice whether headaches happen on days when coffee is the first and only thing in your system for hours. Often, it's not just caffeine, it's caffeine plus missing basics. Moving to slide 7. Let's separate tension headaches from migraines because caffeine interacts with them differently. Tension-type headaches often feel like pressure, tightness, or a band around the head, and they can be linked to muscle tension in the neck, scalp, and jaw. Caffeine can worsen this if it increases anxiety, clenching, or poor posture during a long work session. Migraines are more complex. They can include throbbing pain, sensitivity to light or sound, and sometimes nausea. Some people find a small amount of caffeine helps early in a migraine, while others find caffeine as a trigger, especially in larger doses or irregular patterns. Genetics and nervous system sensitivity play a role here. The practical takeaway is to identify your pattern. If your headaches come with light sensitivity or nausea, treat caffeine as a variable to test carefully, not a guaranteed helper. Moving to slide 8. Another overlooked trigger is what's in the drink besides caffeine. Coffee is more than caffeine. It contains acids and other compounds that can irritate the stomach in some people, and nausea or reflux can travel upward as head discomfort. Energy drinks add extra variables like taurine, high sugar, sugar alcohols, or large doses of B vitamins. A sugar spike followed by a crash can feel like a headache and fatigue, and you might blame the caffeine when the roller coaster is really from sugar. Also, serving size is deceptive. A large coffee can be 2 or 3 standard cups. Cold brew can be especially concentrated. So when someone says, "I only had one," that one might be a very high dose. If headaches seem random, start by standardizing the source. Same drink, same size, similar time, for a week. Moving to slide 9. So how do you figure out which mechanism is hitting you? Use a quick, low-effort tracking method. For 1 to 2 weeks, write down 3 things: when you had caffeine, roughly how much, and when the headache started. Then add 2 context notes: sleep quality and whether you ate within a couple hours of caffeine. Patterns show up fast. If headaches happen when caffeine is delayed, that points toward withdrawal. If headaches happen after a big dose, that points toward overstimulation or tension. If headaches happen after poor sleep regardless of caffeine, caffeine might be a secondary amplifier, not the root cause. Also pay attention to consistency. The brain likes predictable inputs. Even if you keep the same daily total, shifting the timing by several hours can be enough to trigger symptoms. Your goal is not perfection. Moving to slide 10. If you want fewer caffeine-related headaches, the most reliable approach is gradual change and stable routines. If you're cutting back, taper instead of stopping abruptly, because sudden drops are what trigger withdrawal for many people. You can reduce by small steps, like a quarter cup less every few days, or mixing regular with decaf, so your receptors have time to adjust. If you're keeping caffeine, set a consistent window. Many people do better when caffeine is earlier and not spread into late afternoon. Pair caffeine with water, and don't let it replace breakfast if you're prone to headaches. And if you're using caffeine to manage headaches frequently, it may be worth discussing the pattern with a clinician, because the right strategy depends on your headache type and overall health. If you want, I can also make a simple taper schedule template. Moving to slide 11. A quick word on red flags, because not every headache is about caffeine. If you get a sudden, severe headache that peaks fast, or a headache with weakness, confusion, fainting, fever, stiff neck, or vision changes, that's a different situation. Also take note if headaches are new for you, rapidly worsening, or triggered by exertion or coughing. Those are reasons to seek medical evaluation rather than trying to self-experiment with coffee. For most people, caffeine headaches are annoying but predictable, and that predictability is useful. Once you know whether you're dealing with withdrawal, rebound, sleep disruption, tension, or dehydration, you can adjust one variable at a time and see real improvement. If this helped, subscribe for more clear, science-based explanations, and comment with your pattern. Do your headaches hit more when you have caffeine or when you skip it? A or B? This information is not a substitute for medical advice.